Within the first month, despite negotiations and attempts to reunify the Korean Peninsula, on the 25th of June 1950, North Korea launched a massive surprise attack. This war lasted over 3 years and costed 2 million people their lives. Within the first month of this attack, North Korean forces captured most of the Korean Peninsula until coalition forces were able to stop the North Korean army's advance near the city of Busan. Within the first 4 months, the UNC conducted the Incheon landing and pushed the North Koreans back to the Yalu River, which separates North Korea and China. China then entered in the war effort and aided the North Koreans. The war began to settle around the 38th parallel. However, there was no permanent settlement. So on the 27th of July, 1953, military commanders of the UNC, the Korean People Army, and the Chinese People Peace signed an armistice or a ceasefire to end this fighting. This agreement is still in effect today, and the border between North and South Korea have remained relatively the same ever since. This white dotted line represents the MDL, or the military demarcation line. Under the provisions of the armistice, all military commanders had to pull back their troops 2,000 meters from the last point of hostile contact, thus creating a 4-kilometer wide, 241-kilometer Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ. Note the location of Seoul and its relationship to the MDL. We are currently just 400 meters south of the southern boundary of the MDL and 2.4 kilometers from the DMZ. The JSA itself, the MDL is more advanced. Notice how the MDL winds its way through the DMZ and creates a finger into the JSA. Upon your arrival to Checkpoint 3 today, you will be surrounded by 3 sites of communist North Korea. You will start here at Camp Boniface, work your way up to the MSR or the main supply route, which is known as Old Highway 1. For over 50 years, this was the only highway that connected North and South Korea until agreements were made to open up the East and the West Transportation Corridor. This is still the only highway that leads to the JSA for all armistice and related events. You will start your trip here at Camp Boniface. I will also point out Guard Post 240, Observation Post Olet, Taesongdong or Freedom Village, Gyeongdong, the Propaganda Village, the Swiss and Swedish Neutral Nations Supervisory Commission, and the Czech and Polish NNSE. First, the village of Taesongdong, or Freedom Village. The UNC is responsible for implementing civil affairs and security in this unique village. We carry out security through a security company that guards this village 24 hours a day. During the day, it guards the villagers while they tend their fields, and at night they guard the village itself while these villagers sleep. These villagers have large modern homes and rather have large plots of allocations, but they live under some very severe restrictions. They must be in their house by midnight and have their doors and windows locked by nightfall. 1,800 meters across the MDL from Taesongdong is Gyeongdong, or the Propaganda Village. This village obtained its name due to an extremely large speaker system that ran throughout this area. It broadcasted propaganda until June of 2004. This propaganda could be heard all the way here at Camp Boniface, but mostly at night. This propaganda idolized Kim Jong-il to be a great leader. And invited the citizens from Taesongdong and the rest of the Republic of Korea to defect to this so-called City of Paradise. However, if one were to defect here, they would find themselves rather lonely, for this place is uninhabited. We do see people here from time to time who work at the Kaesong Industrial Complex and maintain these buildings here and also raise and lower this extremely large North Korean flag. This flag is one of the largest flags in the world. It has an approximate length of over 31 meters. This is the second of 2 flagpoles that have ever stood in Gyeongdong. In 1981, South Korea donated a flagpole to Taesongdong, which stood taller than the original flagpole in Gyeongdong. So North Korea quickly responded by even building a taller flagpole. The flagpole in Taesongdong stands approximately 100 meters in height, and the flagpole in Gyeongdong stands 160 meters in height. As we enter the JSA today, I will point out the Neutral Nations Supervisory Commission. We currently had 4 delegates, the Swiss, the Swedish, the Czech, and the Polish. We currently work with only 3 delegates right now, the Swiss and the Swedes, which stay here year-round, and the Polish, which still come here for biannual meetings. Also, you can see from checkpoint 3 is the Czech and Polish Neutral Nations Supervisory Camp to your right, and to your left is the Korean People Peace Museum. This museum was built in approximately less than 48 hours due for the sole purpose signing of the armistice. Also available, you can see from checkpoint 3, is the Bridge of No Return. The Bridge of No Return obtained its name towards the end of the Korean War when Operation Big Switch and Little Switch were conducted. The UNC returned approximately 82,000 prisoners of war, and North Korea and China returned approximately 13,000. These prisoners were lined up on both sides of this bridge, and these prisoners were given the opportunity to cross into whatever country they wanted to, but once they crossed, they were no longer able to return. The Bridge of No Return lies on the southern boundary road of the JSA. These blue buildings represent the UNC buildings, and these red buildings are North Korea or the KPA. Prior to 1976, the JSA was considered a neutral location, and guard forces from both sides were able to walk freely around in these areas. Korea took full advantage of this and built 4 communist guard post towers on the southern side of the JSA, while the UNC built none in the north. Notice how checkpoint 4 is surrounded by 3 sites of communist guard posts and isolated from the JSA. Checkpoint 3 had limited visibility to checkpoint number 4 due to a large poplar tree that grew in this area. So the 18th of August, 1976, the UNC dispatched a 5-man civilian work detail accompanied by a 12-man security force to conduct a routine tree trimming operation to improve visibility between the 2 checkpoints. Upon arrival, they were met by 28 North Korean guards. Work did begin as scheduled, but after 15 minutes, the North Korean guards attacked. I will point out in this photograph how outnumbered our JSA soldiers were by the North Korean guards. First, you can see here, there's a JSA soldier fighting off 7 North Korean guards. Here is a helmet of Captain Arthur Bonnerfest, who was brutally murdered. Here is a North Korean guard wielding an axe at a JSA soldier. Due to this unprovoked act of violence, a special series of meetings was arranged, and it was decided that the MDL should separate the 2 guard forces. So in 1984, a Soviet defector on a North Korean-sponsored tour dashed across the MDL in order to defect to the free world. North Korean guards armed with rifles and pistols chased this man in order to capture or kill him. There were approximately 30 North Korean guards on the northern boundary of the sunken garden. The JSA Quick Reaction Force was quickly alerted and able to halt and outflank the North Korean main body. This ensuing firefight lasted for 20 minutes, and in this time, 3 KPA soldiers were killed and 5 were wounded. The UNC had 1 soldier killed, Corporal Jang, and had 1 man wounded. The Soviet defector was protected throughout this whole time in the firefight and evacuated back to Camp Bonifest. On your tour today, you will see these KPA soldiers. These red armbands state that they are military police. Under the provisions of the armistice, all They may come down to your tour today, but we ask that you do not communicate with them verbally or non-verbally. We also provide security and assistance for humanitarian operations such as the repatriation of the remains from the Korean War, and also deliver humanitarian aid to the north. We also provide security and assistance for dignitaries of the state, such as the former President George W. Bush, the President of the Republic of Korea, Un Pak, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, John Key, the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, and the former Honorable Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates. Like these dignitaries, you will be guarded by soldiers of this battalion. The soldier on the right is a United States Army infantry soldier. We served 12 months here. The one on the left is a ROK soldier, or a Republic of Korea. They serve approximately 24 months here. Both these soldiers must meet above aptitude standards of normal soldiers. They must maintain a clear civilian and military record. It is due to all this that we are the most forwardly deployed unit on the Korean Peninsula and stand face-to-face with our enemies on a day-to-day basis. The UNC, the Republic of Korea, and the United States Army so proudly gave us our name, our motto. And ladies and gentlemen, we are in front of them all.